What if the greatest act of strength a man can perform is not to win a toxic and unwinnable game, but to be the one with the wisdom and courage to refuse to play? In a world of complex interpersonal dynamics, what if you could develop a clarity of mind so sharp and so swift that it could cut through emotional manipulation instantly, preserving your peace and your integrity? This is not about aggression. It is about discernment. This is the sword of the Stoic mind, and today you will learn how to forge it, temper it, and wield it with calm precision. How strong men cut off manipulative women fast. Stoicism, compiled and published by Stoic Power. Lesson 1. Spot early red flags. Imagine a veteran sailor, a man who has spent a lifetime on the open ocean at the helm of his ship. The sky is a brilliant, deceptive blue, and the sea is calm. A novice passenger on this ship would feel a sense of perfect safety, seeing no danger whatsoever. But the veteran sailor is different. He is not merely looking, he is observing. He feels a subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the pressure of the air. He notices a peculiar, oily texture on the surface of the water and sees a type of high, wispy cloud on the far-off horizon that the novice would dismiss as beautiful. To the untrained eye, these are meaningless details. But to the wise and experienced sailor, these are the subtle, early symptoms of a powerful and dangerous hurricane that is still hundreds of miles away. Because he spots these red flags early, long before the storm is apparent to anyone else, he has ample time to furl his sails, secure his cargo, batten down the hatches, and chart a course toward the safety of a distant harbor. His survival is not a matter of luck, but of practiced, vigilant perception. The inner conflict for many of us, especially in the early, hopeful, and often intoxicating stages of a new relationship, is that we are the naive passenger. We are so enchanted by the blue sky of initial attraction and the calm sea of a new connection that we willfully and often consciously ignore the gathering storm clouds on the horizon. The painful and often devastating problem with this willful blindness is that our deep desire for a relationship to work, our profound fear of being alone, or our natural human optimism can make us actively suppress our own intuition. We see a subtle red flag, a small act of pointed disrespect disguised as a joke, a moment of unsettling jealousy or possessiveness, a story that doesn't quite add up, a pattern of excessive, almost theatrical flattery that feels just a bit off, and we immediately engage in a process of self-deception. We tell ourselves, I'm probably overthinking it. They're just having a bad day. Their past was difficult, so I should be more understanding. Or the most dangerous one of all, it's not a big deal. We actively silence that wise old sailor in our gut because his warnings are inconvenient to the beautiful story we want to believe. This willful ignorance is incredibly dangerous. It allows unhealthy patterns of communication and behavior to become deeply entrenched in the foundation of the relationship, making it exponentially harder and more painful to extricate ourselves later on. By the time the storm is upon us in its full fury, by the time the manipulation is overt and undeniable, we are completely unprepared, and we are left wondering how we never saw it coming, forgetting that we chose not to look. The transformative solution is to stop being the naive passenger and to start becoming the veteran sailor. It is the crucial discipline of learning to see, to acknowledge, and to trust the early red flags for what they are. Vital, life-saving information that allows you to protect your peace and make wise, self-preserving decisions long before a crisis erupts. The core Stoic idea that empowers this practice is the concept of prosoche, a state of vigilant, continuous, and attentive mindfulness. A Stoic strives to see the world exactly as it is, not as he wishes it were. This requires a courageous commitment to radical honesty with oneself. Ignoring red flags is a form of lying to yourself, a profound betrayal of your own rational faculty. The practice of spotting red flags is not about becoming cynical, suspicious, or distrustful of everyone. It is about respecting reality enough to look at it squarely without the distorting, rose-colored lens of wishful thinking. The benefit of this is that you become a much wiser, more discerning, and more accurate judge of character. You save yourself from immense and predictable future pain by making better, more clear-eyed choices in the present. You learn to trust your own perception and your own intuition, which is a cornerstone of unshakable confidence and self-respect. You become the man who can spot the hurricane when it is still just a whisper on the wind. The actionable step to cultivate this skill is to start keeping pattern logs in a private and secure journal. This is not about recording every minor annoyance or disagreement. It is reserved for those moments that genuinely feel off, that create a knot in your stomach, or that leave you feeling confused and unsettled. When a behavior gives you that flicker of deep unease, write it down using only the most objective, factual language possible, as if you were a ship's captain logging an event. For example, fact: I expressed a personal opinion, and the response was laughter, followed by the statement, "You don't really believe that, do you?" Or, fact: when I tried to set a boundary about my time, the subject was immediately changed to a past failing of mine. Do not add your emotional interpretation. "It made me feel small." Just record the pure data. Then once a month, review your log. The goal is not to dwell on isolated incidents, but to look for recurring patterns of behavior. A single event can be an anomaly. A consistent pattern is a revelation of character and strategy. By doing this, you are moving from a state of emotional reaction to one of rational, data-driven analysis. You are gathering the crucial intelligence that your inner, wise sailor needs to make an accurate forecast. This practice will give you the undeniable clarity to know whether you are sailing in safe, respectful waters or heading directly into a dangerous, manipulative storm. I urge you to begin this practice of observation. Trust your perceptions, document the data, and honor the patterns you see, for they are telling you the truth. This awareness is your first and most important line of defense. Once we can see the patterns, we must have the inner strength and clearly defined territory to enforce our own standards. Our next lesson is on building unshakable emotional boundaries. Before we continue, please subscribe to the Stoic Power channel to commit to this journey of becoming the wise captain of your own life. Lesson 2. Build unshakable emotional boundaries. Imagine your mind, your spirit, and your emotional well-being as a nation's sophisticated and powerful immune system. A healthy immune system is a marvel of defensive architecture, a silent guardian operating ceaselessly within you. It has vigilant white blood cells that constantly patrol the bloodstream, and they are trained to do one thing with supreme competence: to recognize what is self and what is not self. When a foreign invader, a virus, a harmful bacteria, is identified, the immune system doesn't get angry, it doesn't panic, and it doesn't fall into despair. It calmly, efficiently, and ruthlessly neutralizes the threat, protecting the health and integrity of the entire organism. It has perfectly defined, non-negotiable boundaries. It knows with absolute certainty what belongs and what is a threat that must be expelled. The inner conflict we face is that many of us have a weak, compromised, and untrained psychological immune system. We have not done the essential work of building the strong emotional boundaries necessary to know where we end and another person begins. The painful problem that arises from this lack of inner defense is that we are constantly getting sick from the emotional states and manipulative tactics of others. We lack a mental immune system that can recognize and neutralize toxic or manipulative behaviors when they first appear. We allow another person's chronic anxiety to infect us with anxiety. We allow their explosive anger to trigger our own defensive anger. We allow their manipulative guilt to be absorbed directly into our bloodstream like a virus, causing a fever of false obligation and bitter resentment. We become emotionally enmeshed, unable to distinguish our own feelings, our own needs, and our own values from theirs. This makes us incredibly easy to manipulate, because a person with weak or non-existent emotional boundaries can be controlled by anyone who has a strong enough emotion or a sharp enough tactic. We lose our own center, our own peace, our own identity in the chaotic emotional states of others. The transformative solution is to decide to become the chief physician of your own mind and to begin the deliberate, life-saving work of building a robust, intelligent, and unshakable psychological immune system through the establishment of clear, conscious, and non-negotiable emotional boundaries. The core Stoic idea is that a man's primary and most sacred duty is to the health and integrity of his own soul, his hegemonikon or ruling faculty. A boundary is a profound and necessary statement of self-respect. It is the clear line that defines your sovereign territory. It is the powerful declaration that says, with quiet confidence, I am responsible for my own feelings, my own choices, and my own character, and you are responsible for yours. This is not a cold, aggressive wall designed to keep love and connection out. It is a healthy, semi-permeable membrane, like that of a living cell, that is designed to let nourishment and connection in, but to actively recognize and keep toxicity out. The benefit of this is that you become psychologically robust and resilient. You can be deeply compassionate and empathetic towards someone who is suffering without becoming a victim of their suffering. You can love someone deeply and passionately without allowing their emotional storms to capsize your own ship. This creates a powerful sense of inner stability and self-possession that is the very definition of a strong, centered man. The actionable step to begin building this mental immune system is the boundary definition exercise. In your journal, dedicate a page to your personal constitution of emotional sovereignty. On this page, write down and complete these powerful statements. This is not a one-time exercise, but a living document. 1. I am responsible for my own actions and my own happiness. I am therefore not responsible for, e.g., another capable adult's happiness, their emotional reactions, their life choices, their poor planning. 2. In my personal relationships, I have the right to my own feelings and perspective. Therefore, I will not tolerate, e.g., being told my feelings are wrong, or too sensitive, consistent disrespect, dishonesty, personal attacks during disagreements. 3. To protect my peace and my integrity, I give myself unconditional permission to, e.g., end a conversation that becomes disrespectful, walk away from a chaotic situation, say no to requests that violate my values, take space to think before making a decision. This act of writing down your boundaries makes them real. It transforms them from vague, uncertain feelings into a clear, personal constitution. Review this page weekly. Memorize its principles. Let it become the core operating system for all your relationships. I urge you to begin drafting your boundary blueprint this week. This is how you build your immune system and protect your inner health. These boundaries are your first line of defense, but they will inevitably be tested by provocations. How do we control our own emotional reactions when a provocation directly attacks our new walls? Our next lesson is on the art of controlling your responses to provocations. If you are ready to build your emotional boundaries and protect your peace, please like this video as a sign of your commitment to self-respect. Lesson 3. Control responses to provocations. Imagine a master of the martial art of Aikido. He stands calm, grounded, and centered in the middle of the dojo. An aggressive, unskilled opponent, fueled by anger and ego, charges at him, intending to knock him over with a display of brute force. The Aikido master does not meet this raw force with his own brute force. He does not try to block the attack head-on, which would be a crude, inefficient, and risky use of energy. Instead, he does something far more sophisticated, something that seems almost magical to the untrained eye. He blends with the opponent's chaotic energy, he pivots on his center, and with a calm, fluid, almost effortless movement, he redirects the attacker's own momentum, causing the opponent to fly past him and lose his own balance, often ending up on the floor. The master remains untouched, his breathing even, his peace completely undisturbed. He has won not by overpowering his opponent, but by profoundly mastering himself. The inner conflict we face when provoked is that we are almost always the clumsy brawler, not the Aikido master. When someone charges at us with a verbal attack, a cutting insult, or an emotional provocation, our immediate, untrained instinct is to meet their aggressive force with our own. The painful problem is that emotional manipulation is specifically designed to provoke an emotional reaction. The manipulator wants you to get angry. They want you to get defensive. They want you to lose your composure. When you react with a surge of your own chaotic emotional energy, you have fallen perfectly and completely into their trap. You have become predictable. Your anger makes you say foolish, regrettable things. Your defensiveness makes you look weak and insecure. Your emotional reaction gives them total control of the interaction and proves to them that their tactics are working. You are the brawler, swinging wildly, wasting your precious energy, and ultimately losing your balance and your self-respect, while the manipulator, like a skilled counterpuncher, calmly uses your own emotional output against you. The transformative solution is to decide to become the Aikido master of your own mind. It is the art of learning to meet the incoming force of a provocation, not with a reactive force of your own, but with the calm, immovable, and redirecting power of a controlled and rational response. The core Stoic idea is that your ruling faculty, your hegemonicon, must remain the undisputed master of your inner citadel at all times. A provocation is a direct attempt to stage a coup d'etat inside your own mind. It is an attempt to dethrone your reason and to install raw, reactive emotion as the new tyrannical ruler. The Stoic's primary job in any interaction is to calmly and resolutely prevent this coup from succeeding. He must remain the calm and rational king, no matter how loudly the emotional mob outside the palace gates screams for revolution. The benefit of this is that you become profoundly difficult to manipulate or control. Your calm becomes your superpower. By calmly refusing to provide the emotional reaction your provocateur craves, you rob their tactics of all their power. The dynamic shifts entirely. You maintain your dignity, your clarity, and your ability to think strategically, while they are often left standing alone with their own frustrated, chaotic, and now useless energy. The actionable step to train this Aikido of the mind is to practice the neutral observation technique. When a provocative statement is made, your first internal move is not to feel, but to observe. Take a mental step back from the situation and analyze it as if you were a scientist watching an experiment. Silently say to yourself something like this: "Interesting, the subject has just deployed a guilt-based verbal tactic. The intended effect is to create an emotional response of shame in order to compel compliance. I will observe this attempt with detached curiosity, but I will decline to participate in the intended reaction." Or more simply, when you feel the heat of anger rising, you can say, "That was a statement designed to make me angry. I see it. I understand the tactic. I will not assent to it." This act of mentally labeling the tactic creates a powerful sense of psychological detachment. It turns you from an emotional participant in the fight into a calm observer of the game. It allows you to see the moves clearly, without getting caught up in them. I challenge you to try and mentally label the tactic the next time you feel yourself being provoked. See the move, but do not make the reactive counter-move. To do this, you must have clear standards for yourself and your interactions. How do you assert those standards firmly and without apology? That is our next lesson. To support our channel and its mission of empowerment, please comment below and share a time you successfully remained calm under pressure, or a time you wish you had. Lesson 4. Assert standards without apology. Imagine the sun in a clear blue sky. It rises each morning and shines its light with a powerful, consistent, and unapologetic energy. It has its own nature, its own non-negotiable standards for how it operates. It does not apologize for being hot. It does not apologize for being bright. It does not dim its own light to make a flickering candle feel more comfortable or less inadequate. It simply is what it is, a source of immense power and light, and the rest of the world in turn adjusts to its powerful and predictable presence. A strong man's personal standards for how he is to be treated are like the sun. They should be clear, they should be consistent, and they should be asserted with a quiet, unapologetic confidence. The inner conflict we face is that we are often taught to be ashamed of our own standards. We are afraid that having clear standards for how we expect to be treated in a relationship or at work will make us seem demanding, difficult, arrogant, or high maintenance. The painful problem that arises from this is that we end up apologizing for our own needs and values. We state a boundary or a standard, and then we immediately soften it with weak supplicating language like, "If that's okay with you," or "I'm sorry to be so difficult, but," or worse, we don't state our standards at all. We silently hope that others will magically guess what our needs and expectations are, and then choose to respect them. This strategy almost never works. By not having and consistently enforcing your own clear standards, you are silently teaching people how to treat you. You are teaching them that disrespectful treatment is acceptable, that your time is not valuable, that your principles are negotiable, and that their comfort is more important than your self-respect. This inevitably leads to you being taken for granted, and it breeds a deep and toxic resentment within you, not just towards others, but more damagingly, towards yourself for your own lack of courage. The transformative solution is to understand that having clear, high, and reasonable standards for how you expect to be treated is not an act of arrogance. It is a fundamental and necessary act of self-worth and a prerequisite for any healthy, respectful relationship. It is learning to shine your own light, calmly and without apology. The core Stoic idea is that you are the sole curator of your own character and the primary guardian of your own peace. It is therefore your sacred duty to set the terms of engagement for those who wish to enter your life in a meaningful way. You teach people how to treat you by what you are willing to calmly and consistently tolerate. The Stoic warrior tolerates very little that is contrary to reason, justice, and virtue, not because he is intolerant of other people, but because he has immense respect for himself and for the tranquil state of his own soul. The benefit of this is that your relationships become characterized by a much higher degree of mutual respect. You naturally and gracefully filter out people who are unwilling or unable to meet your reasonable standards, and you attract those who share your values and are capable of a mature, respectful connection. You eliminate the exhausting frustration of constantly feeling taken for granted or disrespected. You move through the world with the quiet, powerful confidence of a man who knows what he stands for and is not afraid to say so. The actionable step is to practice formulating and communicating your standard statements. A standard is a positive, clear, and unapologetic declaration of your expectations for a healthy dynamic. First, identify one area in your life where you have been tolerating behavior that violates your peace or your values. Then, craft a simple, clear statement of your standard. Examples: for me to feel safe and respected in a partnership, honesty and direct communication are non-negotiable. Or, I require consistency between a person's words and their actions to build trust. Or, I only engage in professional relationships that are based on mutual respect and a shared commitment to excellence. The next step is to be prepared to state this standard calmly, factually, and without an accusatory tone when it becomes relevant. For example, if you notice a pattern of inconsistency from someone, you might say, "As I've mentioned, consistency is very important for me to build trust. I'm noticing a gap between what is being said and what is being done, and that is a significant concern for me." You are not attacking them. You are simply stating your standard and your observation of reality. This is a powerful, high-value, and deeply respectful way to communicate. I urge you this week to write down 3 of your core non-negotiable standards for the key relationships in your life. Asserting your standards may sometimes lead to conflict or drama from those who are used to you not having any. How do we disengage from that drama instantly? Our next lesson explores this crucial skill. If you are ready to start asserting your own standards without apology, please like this video. Lesson 5. Disengage from drama instantly. Imagine you are a wise traveler walking through a bustling city square on your way to an important destination. You see, up ahead, a chaotic and noisy street performance beginning. A group of actors is creating a loud, dramatic, and intensely emotional scene, specifically designed to draw in a large crowd of onlookers and captivate their attention. The wise traveler understands the nature of this performance. He knows it is designed to hook his attention, to pull him into its emotional vortex, and perhaps, while he is completely distracted by the manufactured drama, to have a skilled pickpocket in the crowd lift his wallet. The traveler sees the drama for the carefully constructed and artificial distraction that it is, recognizes that it has absolutely nothing to do with his own journey or his own purpose, and simply, calmly, and without a second thought, keeps walking toward his destination, his attention, his energy, and his wallet secure. The inner conflict we face is that we are often the naive tourist who gets completely captivated and mesmerized by the street performance of human drama. The painful problem is that we get hooked by drama. The arguments, the accusations, the emotional roller coasters, the he said, she said narratives, the gossip, these things can be strangely and powerfully addictive. The adrenaline rush of the conflict, the satisfying hit of self-righteousness we get from being the good guy in the story, and the distraction it provides from our own lives can make us feel important and alive. We get drawn into toxic dynamics and we stay there, mesmerized by the performance, long after we should have walked away. We invest our most precious and non-renewable resources, our time, our focus, our emotional energy, in a show that ultimately drains us, solves nothing, and serves only to distract us from our own lives, our own goals, and our own purpose. We stand and watch the performance with rapt attention until our pocket has been picked clean of our inner peace. The transformative solution is to develop the sharp-eyed, discerning skill of the wise traveler, to learn to recognize a situation as unproductive drama, and to make a swift, clean, and decisive disengagement. The core Stoic idea is that your attention, your prosouche, is your most valuable and sacred asset. It is the currency of your life. Where you place it determines everything. To spend it on pointless, repetitive, and toxic drama is the ultimate act of poor stewardship over your own mind and your own life. The Stoic warrior understands that not every battle is his to fight, and not every performance is worthy of his attention. He conserves his focus for what is truly important: his own duties, the cultivation of his own character, and the maintenance of his own inner peace. The benefit of this is that you reclaim your life from the hands of chaos. You stop being a supporting actor in someone else's chaotic movie, and you become the main character in your own purposeful one. You will find that you have vast new reserves of time, mental clarity, and emotional energy to dedicate to your own growth, your own goals, and your own relationships that are based on peace and mutual respect. The actionable step is to learn and practice the drama dis-invitation. This is a set of calm, firm, and repeatable phrases that allow you to politely refuse to participate in a dramatic performance. You must have these ready in your mind, for in the heat of the moment, it is difficult to think clearly. Examples include, I am not going to participate in this argument. This conversation feels like it is becoming unproductive drama, and I am choosing to disengage now. I am not interested in discussing this person when they are not here to defend themselves. I am sensing a lot of chaotic energy here, and I am going to step away to protect my own peace. The key is that these are I statements. You are not judging them or calling them dramatic. You are simply stating your own choice of action, your own boundary. By using these phrases, you are calmly and respectfully declining the invitation to the brawl. You are asserting your right to walk past the distracting street performance and continue on your own important journey. I challenge you this week to identify one source of recurring drama in your life and to choose your drama disinvitation phrase. Be ready to use it. Disengaging from drama often requires a powerful tool that many of us fear and misunderstand: silence. How do we use silence not as a weakness, but as a source of immense and unshakable power? That is our next lesson. Please subscribe to the Stoic Power channel to learn more ways to protect your focus, your energy, and your peace. Lesson 6. Maintain power through silence. Imagine a silent, immovable, and ancient mountain, its peaks shrouded in mist and tranquility. At its base, a small, chattering, and agitated monkey screeches and throws pebbles at its granite face. The monkey is desperate for a reaction. It wants the mountain to shake, to crumble, to roar back in anger, to acknowledge its existence and its efforts. But the mountain does nothing. It remains utterly still, utterly silent, wrapped in its own immense, timeless, and profound dignity. The monkey's frantic, Desperate energy eventually exhausts itself, and it scampers away into the forest, defeated not by a show of force, but by a deep and unshakable silence. The mountain's silence is not an absence of power. It is the ultimate expression of it. It is a presence so solid and so grounded that it makes the monkey's frantic noise seem absurd and insignificant. The inner conflict we face in the face of manipulation and provocation is our desperate, compulsive urge to be the chattering monkey, not the silent mountain. The painful problem is that we believe we must respond to every provocation with words. We feel a deep, ego-driven need to explain ourselves, to defend our honor, to correct the other person's wrongness, and above all, to have the last word. This verbal compulsion, this need to chatter back, gives away all of our power. By frantically throwing our own pebbles of explanation, justification, and defense, we are showing the manipulator that they have successfully hooked us. We are signaling that their words have the power to force a reaction from us, which is exactly what they want. We are engaging in their game, on their terms, and by their rules. Our endless talking is not a sign of strength or confidence, but a confession of our own inner turmoil and our desperate need for their validation, even if that validation comes in the form of a continued argument. The transformative solution is the strategic and powerful deployment of silence. It is the art of becoming the mountain that is so grounded in its own being, so secure in its own truth, that the chattering of the monkeys below is rendered completely irrelevant and powerless. The core Stoic idea is that silence, when used wisely and intentionally, is not an empty absence. It is a powerful presence. It is a nonverbal statement that communicates far more effectively than a torrent of angry or defensive words ever could. It communicates with unshakable clarity, "I am in complete control of myself." It communicates, "Your provocation is not worthy of my energy or my response." And it communicates, "I will not be baited into your childish and unproductive game." The person who can comfortably and calmly hold the silence in a tense situation is the person who holds all the power. The benefit of this is that you immediately seize control of the entire dynamic of the interaction. You refuse to play by the manipulator's rules, which often leaves them confused and frustrated. Your silence forces them to confront their own words and their own behavior. To fill the uncomfortable space you are holding, they will often continue talking, revealing more about their own intentions and insecurities, effectively playing chess against themselves and showing their hand. This preserves your energy, your focus, and your dignity completely. The actionable step to practice this is the calculated pause. When faced with a manipulative question, an unfair accusation, or a provocative statement, instead of answering immediately, you will pause for a full 5 to 10 seconds while maintaining calm, steady eye contact. Let the silence stretch. Let it become a tangible presence in the room. This will feel incredibly uncomfortable at first, as we are conditioned to fill silence instantly, but it is a profoundly powerful move. It disrupts their pattern, shatters their momentum, and asserts your calm control over the pace and rhythm of the interaction. After the pause, you can then choose to answer calmly and concisely, to ask a clarifying question, or, most powerfully of all, to remain silent and simply let their statement hang in the air, unanswered. The pause itself is the technique, a declaration of your inner freedom. I urge you to try the calculated pause in a low-stakes conversation this week. Experience the subtle but profound shift in power that it creates. Become the mountain. This silence, this power, gives us the strength for the final and most important step in this journey. How do we take all these lessons and use them to walk away from toxic situations for good, without a single shred of regret? Our final lesson will show you how. If you found this lesson powerful, please like this video and share it. Lesson 7. Walk away without regret. Imagine a seasoned, wise explorer who has been following an old map for weeks, believing it leads to a legendary city of gold. After a long, arduous, and difficult journey, he arrives at his destination, only to find not a city of gold, but a desolate, toxic, and lifeless swamp. A foolish explorer, one whose ego is tied to the success of the journey, might stay in the swamp, consumed by regret and bitterness. he might lament all the wasted time and effort. He might even try to convince himself and others that the swamp is not so bad, because admitting that he followed the wrong map for so long is too painful for his pride to bear. The wise explorer, however, does something entirely different. He looks at the swamp. He acknowledges the stark reality of the situation. He accepts without drama or complaint that his map was wrong, and he feels a surge of gratitude for the valuable lesson this has taught him about navigation and the importance of choosing his maps wisely. He does not regret the steps he took. He sees them as a necessary part of the journey that led him to this crucial, life-changing piece of wisdom. Then, without a moment of hesitation or a single backward glance, he burns the false map, turns 180 degrees, and begins walking decisively toward a new, more promising path, guided by his own internal compass. The inner conflict we face is that even after we have rationally decided to cut someone off or walk away from a toxic situation, we are often plagued by the sticky, poisonous mud of guilt and regret. The painful problem is that we get stuck in a debilitating loop of second-guessing and what-ifs. Did I make the right choice? What if they had changed if I just waited a little longer? Maybe it wasn't so bad, and I was the one who was too sensitive. This regret and guilt can be so powerful that it can pull us right back into the very toxic swamp we had decided to leave. Or it can haunt us for years, preventing us from moving forward with confidence, trust, and peace in our future endeavors. We are tormented by the belief that we wasted our time and that our decision to leave was a personal failure, a mark against our character, rather than a necessary, courageous, and wise act of self-preservation. The transformative solution is the final, powerful synthesis of all our Stoic training, to make the decision to leave based on such clear reason, such deep self-respect, and such inviolable values that the departure is clean, complete, and forever free from the poison of regret. The core idea is amor fati, a love of one's fate, applied to the narrative of our own lives. It is the deep, empowering acceptance that every step of our journey, even the steps that led us into the desolate swamp, was a necessary and valuable part of the path that brought us to the wisdom we have today. From this perspective, there is no wasted time if you learned the lesson that the experience was sent to teach you. The act of walking away is not a failure. It is the final examination, the graduation ceremony. It is the moment you prove you have finally learned the lesson, and now you are free to move forward, stronger, wiser, and more discerning than you were before. The benefit of this is that you can make clean, decisive breaks. You can close chapters of your life with peace, finality, and even gratitude, freeing up all of your mental and emotional energy to focus on the bright, open path ahead, unburdened by the ghosts and regrets of the past. The actionable step is to conduct a closure statement exercise. This is a private journaling practice to be performed after you have made the decision to walk away. Write a formal statement to yourself, affirming your decision from a place of calm reason and profound self-respect. It should look something like this. I am choosing to walk away from this situation, not out of anger or malice, but out of a deep and unwavering commitment to my core values of, e.g., peace, honesty, and mutual respect. I acknowledge that this path has been painful, but I am sincerely grateful for the powerful lessons it has taught me about, e.g., my own boundaries, the importance of spotting red flags, and what I truly require in a relationship. I accept this chapter of my story completely, and I now move forward with clarity, purpose, and without regret. This powerful statement solidifies your decision in your own mind. It reframes the ending from a painful tragedy into a powerful graduation. I encourage you to use this exercise to find peace with a past departure that may still haunt you. Affirm the wisdom you gained and release the regret. This is the ultimate act of the strong man, to learn the lesson and then to walk away, forever changed for the better and ready for the next journey. We have journeyed through the 7 great lessons of the Stoic warrior, learning to see the signs, build the walls, master the self, and finally to walk away with wisdom and dignity. This path teaches that the ultimate power is not in winning a fight or changing another person, but in having the profound self-respect to decisively cut off any dynamic that compromises your character and your peace, and to do so without regret. Thank you for taking this time to explore this powerful philosophy of self-sovereignty. If this video has served you on your journey, please like this video, comment with your greatest insight, and subscribe to the Stoic Power channel for more wisdom on building a life of profound strength, integrity, and freedom.